A strong public education system is the heart of a free society. Public education was recognized from America's earliest days as the key to making a democratic government work. The Founding Fathers recognized that a well-informed public is the foundation of a strong country. Few question that schools matter. What we would like to do in our series is to help the community understand the challenges involved in maintaining a high-quality public education system in times of economic uncertainty, rapid curriculum reform, international competition, and increased demand for accountability. We hope also to explain how the district is responding to those challenges to make sure that Sarasota County schools continue to deliver outstanding education our students deserve and our community demands. The district is very fortunate to have a team of support staff, from administrators to custodians to volunteers, who are committed to delivering terrific service at the lowest possible cost. Since 2008, the district has cut $124 million and 651 people. Even though the general economy is showing signs of recovery, the district will still need to reduce its costs by $6 million for the 2014 school year to bring our revenues in line and maintain our reserves. Even with the much publicized increase in state funding for the coming school year, the state is still allocating less money per student than it did 7 years ago in 2007. We are deeply committed to the idea that expert teaching is the key to a high-quality education with lifelong value. We know the community shares that commitment. Sarasota County residents have voted 3 times to approve a referendum to support salaries that attract the best teachers available and keep them here. But how else does the district and the community support students, the classroom, and teachers? Well, one way is through the PALS volunteer program, our first topic for today's episode. This is School Matters. Hi, welcome to School Matters. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Leanne McIntyre. And with us today is Dr. Tanis Knopp, the supervisor of the PALS office. Thank you very much for joining us
Happy
today.
to be here. Thank you.
Great. So the first thing we'd like to explain for the audience is, what is the PALS office? What is your mission? We know there's confusion over a similar acronym floating around. So let us know.
Exactly. We do have a little bit of an identity crisis, even though we've been in place for over 34 years. We are PALS, Partnerships and Alliances Linking Schools, which is the volunteer and business partner program in our district. We are not the Police Athletic League, which is a wonderful program, but we just want the public to understand that we're the difference between the two.
You're not the same thing.
Correct. And through our program, we invite the community to come into our schools, both as volunteers or as business partners supporting the schools. And initially, our mission was written to enhance student education through community involvement. But I have to say that I think we're due to revise that, because our volunteers and partners go well beyond enhancing. They really directly support all that we do in the schools.
Wonderful. So let's talk about, because you do have many initiatives that your little 2-woman shop has to run. So the first one I want to talk about is business partnerships.
Okay.
So if we can say, explain to the audience, what is a business partnership? Perhaps how do you become a business partner? How is that important to a business and the community? And then, I know it's a long question, what do students and our schools really get out of that? Because I know we benefit a lot, both us and the businesses.
Correct. Well, the partnerships, we asked businesses, community agencies, organizations, individuals to come into the schools and talk about what they might like to provide in support to our education program, and in turn what the schools can do to support that business in the community. So when we make the match, we have that kind of conversation and we strike a formal agreement at the school-based level with the school talking about what their needs are. They may need funding for certain projects. They may need expert advice on programming, individuals to sit on committees. They may need businesses to come in and talk about career development, that kind of thing. And then in return, the schools can go into the business community and help the employees understand about education, get employee input to education. So it's a give and take. We really talk about a two-way partnership, just not the businesses coming in and giving to the schools, which is an important part of it, but it's not in isolation. It's the coming together. What the schools and the teachers and the students gain from this partnership, just having community members come into the schools, they're role models, they bring an added element to the learning of the students. They help teachers understand that the community cares about what they do. They bring their expertise and round out all that our paid professionals bring to our schools. It's very exciting to see our various partnerships. The way that businesses can become partners, we recently have developed a system that makes it easier for them, we hope. It's a web-based site, teamupscs.org, where they can go to that site, enter some basic contact information, see the various elements of partnerships that the schools are looking for, and then choose the school or schools that they would like to approach to partner with. And then once that connection is made, then it's really the human interaction about how they're going to work together throughout the year.
All right, excellent, excellent. So yes, that's been a long-awaited portal.
Yes.
And it really meets the request of the business community.
Exactly. The business community had come to the superintendent through various committees and talked to me about their needs, that said they would love to partner with schools, but they needed an efficient way to sit down anywhere at any time and be able to take a look at what the needs are and then communicate efficiently how they might coordinate. So we're really very grateful that Achieva Credit Union stepped up and sponsored the development of this site. So we built the site from the ground up. We field tested it with businesses and with our schools. We had a soft launch in the spring. We had our official ribbon cutting in May. And now that the school year has begun and the school-based business partner coordinator, I failed to mention, each school does have a person designated as a business partner coordinator to make that connection with those interested community groups or businesses. They all now are up to speed on the system and ready to welcome partners into the schools.
Well, that's great, because then that shows another synergy of a business partner helping the entire district, not a specific school, but helping the business community as well come into the school district. So it really was a wonderful partnership example right there.
We do have another little element to that. We do have a wish list opportunity for those businesses or individuals in the community who really don't have the time or the means right now to develop a full partnership. They can go to the same site and take a look at what some of the school's needs are, what they're wishing for, and then just make a direct contact. It's very simple and straightforward. This is a list of what the schools would need. I call this person, talk about how I can get these items to that person, and it's very efficient and effective.
Fabulous, fabulous, because that's what we're all looking for
Exactly.
today. How can I do it quickly? All right, so the next big area that you oversee are volunteers.
Yes.
And there are many types of volunteers, many age groups of volunteers. So why don't you start to talk a little bit about that, how someone might become a volunteer, what do they get out of it, what does the school get out of it, and so forth.
It's just such a fabulous program. I'm very fortunate to be involved with this. I really appreciate my opportunity. To segue from the business partnership, one thing I failed to mention is one thing business partners can bring to the schools is bring in their employees as volunteers. And getting the word out to the community about what we look for in volunteers. The volunteer can be any age. We have volunteers from age 8. Our most recent volunteer to sign up is 94 years old. So we have a huge range, which we're very happy for, because we need our students to be exposed to all types of individuals. I will say that we really do need to try to reach out more to the young professional groups. I know that in building careers, they're very busy and their time is limited, but we know that as little as an hour a week can make a huge difference for our children in skills development. So volunteers, the other thing we need the community members to know about volunteering is there's a huge range of opportunities for them. They can, I think most people think about tutoring and mentoring, which we always have a need for. But people can, retired librarians can volunteer in the media center. People volunteer in the cafeteria, in the front office. They help with fundraisers. They help students maneuver their ways around the schools. I mean, there's a huge list of opportunities. So what we try to do is match the volunteers' interest and time availability with what the school's needs are. And we do that in 3 different ways. Just briefly, one way is as we have a business partner coordinator at every school, we also have a volunteer coordinator at every school. Okay. So if you were to live right around the corner from Fruitville Elementary School and you would say, I'm really interested in supporting that school, you could go right over there, make an appointment to talk to the volunteer coordinator and make a match with their need with what your interest is. It could be that simple. Or you can call my office, the PALS office, and you can talk to me about what you might like to do or ask me what what's available out there, and then I help to match you with what would meet your need. The third way is that we have some, our community is so talented and giving and accomplished, so I'll often have someone come in with a very, very specific request. I'd like to work with high school students in chemistry, tutoring them to advance their skills. So then I reach out to the schools to see if there's a particular need for what that volunteer is willing to offer. Right. So we can make it work in any way. Yes.
So, and also in terms of what that also does, there's been budget cuts over quite a few years. Increased pressure on teachers to teach at different levels and provide all sorts of different services for the students. So there's also that human element, but the monetary element. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Exactly. As I mentioned earlier, I think our volunteer force really directly supports education now rather than in the past when we talked about enhancing. For that very reason, with staff cuts, having more adults in the classroom, in the school, supporting the students, that direct instruction, that immediate feedback, that time on task that comes from a one-on-one volunteer-student interaction is priceless and helps the students and the teachers immensely. So our volunteers really play a huge role in our schools. Another thing that volunteers wonder about is sometimes our community members think they have to have some skill or already know about working in schools or education, and that is not at all the case. People bring many skills directly to the situation to help volunteers either refresh skills or learn new skills. We have very specific volunteer training programs. We have a 15-year elementary reading tutor program where volunteers can be trained to work one-to-one with students in either kindergarten, first, second, or third grades. There's 4 different programs that we can train a volunteer to work with a student for 30 minutes a week, making a huge difference in student gains in achievement. Building on that record of really effective programs, we've just started a middle school reading tutor program to try to get those middle school students who are turned off to reading, who never really discovered the joy of reading, to get engaged and start reading. And again, 30 minutes a week, one-on-one. It is so much fun. And some of our volunteers are worried that in working that way with the student might feel singled out or embarrassed that our students love their volunteers. They're proud of them. They brag to their friends that, oh, my volunteer's here for me. So it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. And you had asked me, what do volunteers get out of it? to the volunteer, they say to me they feel guilty because they think they get more out of it than the students do. So the enjoyment, the satisfaction, the interaction, an endless list of benefits to both students and volunteers.
Right. Well, we have about a minute left, so I'd like to end it on a really positive story that perhaps you can share about a volunteer and a student that you can think of. I know I'm putting you on the spot with that one, but
well, yeah, we do have a really great experience. We had a young student at an elementary school who was in our PALS reading tutor program, volunteer program, and we had a volunteer reading with her every year. So she worked with her in kindergarten, then our volunteer followed her to the first grade program, then followed her to the second grade program, then followed her to the third grade program. And then she decided she wanted to do so much more. So we also coordinate with mentoring agencies in our community. So we connected this volunteer with one of our mentoring agencies, and she became an official mentor of this student, followed the student through middle school and through high school to graduation. So maybe not something that everybody can do, but just an illustration of the connection that's made and the value that is the give and take between the volunteer and the student. Exactly.
You know, the enrichment of life,
Absolutely.
I think, is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for joining us today, Tanis, and explaining all of that. And on our screen, we will be putting up the contact information.
Great.
So if there's anybody out there who would love to volunteer or be a business partner, we'll help you get connected. And thank you for watching School Matters. We'll be right back after this break with our next guest. Hello, and welcome back into School Matters. I'm your host, Leanne McIntyre, and joining me in this segment is Roy Sprinkle, the Director of Human Resources Office for Sarasota County Schools. So welcome, Roy.
Thanks, Leanne.
All right. So first, in this series, we've been looking at the MGT study. So we're going to kind of get into some of the accommodations made for your department in that study. But let's explain to the audience what the Human Resources Department does for a school district.
Okay. The primary function of a Human Resource Department is to assist with the hiring process from beginning to end, and then kind of monitor the employees throughout their careers with the district. As well as before they're hired, we actually get into the recruitment of teachers, administrators, bus drivers, food service workers, and then work with them to get through our system and get on board. We do a lot of individual work, as you can imagine, because everybody has different needs, different backgrounds. We have experts in the areas of teacher certification, salary specialists, we have wellness programs. We also do, of course, employee discipline, as well as any background checks, which are quite extensive. I do most of the background checks myself. I take it very seriously in that area. I have 2 7-year-olds in the district, so anyone that I check on, which is pretty much everyone that we see, I think of them as being alone with my children. So we have a very high standard to come to work for Sarasota County. So we encompass a great deal over the life of any employee from beginning to end.
Right, right, very good. So in the MGT study, it was noted that the staff of the school district rated the Human Resources Department very highly on professionalism and courtesy. So I think you should brag a bit about that and how you train your department to help everyone else.
Okay, we actually did reduce our staff quite a bit. We went from down about 30% since the 8-9 school year, and in the same time we dramatically went up in the amount of work we had to do because of the increase in hiring that we've seen the last few years, and also the amount of people that were out of work looking for work. So what we've had to learn to do is work a lot smarter, and I'd say we work smarter and harder. Unfortunately, you try to keep up and keep that one-on-one service that you've always had, which is, it can be a difficult thing to do. We've made better use of technology. Bottom line, when I walked through the door 7 years ago, we were still on paper applications and scanning everything, printing everything, sticking everything in files, and we have moved a long way towards becoming a paperless HR department. Not there yet, but it is one of my goals to get that done in the near future. So through better use of our current technology to try and streamline the process, the application process, and how we deal with each and every individual, and then still try to keep that one-on-one with our people is our goal.
Right. Very good. I'm going to jump to the recruitment question.
Okay.
Because, many may say, well, we're cutting employees, and we have cut about 600 or so employees over the last few years because of budget issues. But, as you said, people are still applying for jobs. We still need teachers because they may be needed in a specific area. Can you talk a little bit about how you go through that process? Are you out, traveling the country recruiting, or how do you do that?
Well, that used to be our format. It was my predecessor. One of the things that she did with me a great deal when I was a principal would bring me on recruiting trips with her because I brought people back. We have gotten away from that for a couple of reasons. One is expense. There's still a need for face-to-face recruitment, but we have found that's not necessarily how people look for jobs anymore either. So through electronic media, we do a great deal of recruitment. Because we have streamlined our application process to be electronic, we receive actually more applications than we ever had, which gives us more people to choose from. Makes the pool larger for those cost center heads to go in and look at people, and they have more. When you have more to choose from, you can be more selective.
Right.
We're lucky in that we are in a place where people want to come.
Yeah.
Having the #1 beach in the country is not a bad thing when you're walking around college campuses, but we still do a minimal amount of face-to-face, especially in some of those critically low areas, but we have cut it back drastically and tried to better use our technology.
Right. Good. Excellent. Yeah. As everyone else says, I know that that many of my friends, if they're job hunting, it's all online. It's it's a constant computer process. Now, another thing that you also do is in working with the employees in the district is helping with training, helping managers evaluate their employees. We have a teachers union and a classified union. So how does that all mesh together? How does that work? What's your involvement in that?
Well, HR, Sarasota is known for the amount of training and professional development that they do, and our professional development department is outstanding in that area. We try to help where we can. We have developed over the years many modules that have the different HR components within them, and then we teach them to administrators, principals, assistant principals, directors, anyone that's involved in the HR process of hiring, discipline, evaluation, all of those things. So we get in there at principal meetings, assistant principal meetings, Summer Leadership Institute, and we do our training. What that allows us to do is now I have not just a central office of 18 HR individuals, I have HR staff throughout the district. All of our cost center heads, principals, do their own hiring. And I'll tell you, as someone that was a principal, I would have it no other way. If someone's working in my building, I want to be the person that hires them. Our job is to make sure they do it properly. So, and they have the skills and the things they need to go through the hiring process, and also meet our contractual agreement that we have with our unions. So we do our share of training, and that enables us, like I said, to keep the small central office HR that we have.
Right. Very good. Very good. I want to throw you a curveball and go back a little bit about background checks, because in the earlier segment we talked with Tanis, and that's a very big part of background checks on volunteers and business partners, whoever we let in the school. Can you speak a little bit for the public in this day where safety is such a concern, why we do that, how we do that, how comprehensive is it?
Well, it's very comprehensive, and I would say almost invasive to a point that, but that's what we wanted, and that was what the Jessica Lunsford Act asked us to do. We actually use the FBI database when we do our background checks, and we also monitor those prints as a person is employed with us. So, I get any arrest that's made on anyone that we've printed, with thousands and thousands and thousands of prints. As we are the largest employer in the county, and we probably have the largest responsibility, as we have every young child out there. So we take that very seriously. There are things, we have strict guidelines given to us from the state, and then our own standards by the school board actually exceed those requirements. So we are very picky about who we allow in, but I haven't found a parent yet that's thought that's a bad thing.
Right. No, very good. Excellent. Let's see. Do you have anything else to say that I have not asked you about HR? What else did the MGT study really acknowledge your group for doing so well?
Well, the thing that probably gave me the most pride was they spoke to the professionalism of my staff. And not an easy task when you consider, your workload has doubled and your staff is reduced by 30%, yet your people are still getting accolades for how well they treat people. That means a great deal to us. I preach to them constantly about how important it is to be empathetic of those coming in. These are tough times in our area. People are looking for work. We never close our door. We never say not hiring today. We take all applicants. And that creates work for us, we understand, but we also understand that, getting a job is important. My staff, they really do care about the people they work with, and that comes through in these studies. And I guess that makes me very proud of the people that I work with. And, a job is a lot more than how you earn your living. It gives you purpose. Right. And, what could be better purpose than working with children?
Right, right. So in processing all those applications, what is the school district looking at for this year and next year? I mean, how many applications do you think you're going to go through? How many openings are we sort of anticipating? Even though we are having cuts, as I said, certain areas sometimes need staff. We always need bus drivers. We always need cafeteria workers. We may need special ed teachers, but not English teachers. Exactly. What kind of projections are we looking at as we're going forward this year with our referendum to try to meet the budget for next year? Because I'm sure you're hiring not just for this year, but looking forward to next year as well. Sure,
and we're hiring every day, and we're planning for each upcoming year. Critically low areas as far as instructional goes, special education, exceptional student education is always a high need. I certainly have kept my special ed certifications in case I ever need to go back in that area. It's always an area that we're looking for individuals. That's one of the places that we do actually go for face-to-face recruitment to try and bring more of these graduating students back to our district. But other areas, science, math, chemistry is always a big one. Reading is always a big one. But also, like you said, bus drivers. We're constantly searching for bus drivers. We just recently hired a large number of custodians. I am right now looking to open up my pool more for substitutes. We need substitutes in the district. We currently have about 600 active substitutes, but we can use up to 300 to 400 a day on heavy use days. So,
goodness.
that they're a very important part of our workforce, because when the teacher's not there, they are the teacher.
Right.
So we are going to open that up a little bit and try to get some more substitutes in there. So I encourage anyone who's watching who's thinking about it doing that.
There you
And a lot of us started as substitutes. I did myself. So that's was my first job in the schools. It's a great way to get in there and
Right.
start to work with kids
Right.
and see if it is something you
You
want to do.
right. I think that's how my sister started. She teaches middle school.
It's a great way.
Well, Roy, thank you so much for sharing this information with us and with our audience. And thank you, viewers at home, for turning into School Matters. We'll see you next time here on School Matters.